Bruce, were you looking to start? Or you want to wait for...
Ready. All right. Maybe we ought to have a little roll call as to who's here, or have you got that already?
We have Bruce, Ward, Sean, Travis, Brandon, and then we have Councilman Freeman.
Okay.
And I believe Manager Mike Martin is also attending by phone.
Okay, good. Then we'll call this meeting to order at 6:03. This is the April 16th, 2020 Planning Board meeting. First thing we have to do for business is the approval of the minutes from the March 19th, 2020 meeting. Any discussion, motion to accept?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the March 19th minutes.
Second, Brandon.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. Any discussion, errors or admissions? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Yay. Aye.
Very good.
Bruce, please do, because we are by conference, you have to do a roll call vote by name.
Okay. Ward?
Yes.
Dave? I think we've lost Dave. Brandon?
Yes.
You said you had Travis? John?
Yep.
Okay. Motion to accept the minutes has been approved. Item 3 on our agenda is a public hearing to rezone 182 Chapman Road from urban residential to agricultural, farming, forestry. Open the public hearing.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. What I'm going to do is the City Council and City Hall has received numerous public comments. I'd like to review the packet that was sent to you earlier this week. We have not received any questions from the board for the applicant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share our meeting packet for you. So what's in front of you right now is the City of Presque Planning Board rezoning application briefing. This was supplied at your last meeting regarding the rezoning of 182 Chapman Road. Staff has highlighted some concerns and some questions that the planning could have asked the applicant during our last meeting. The planning board has agreed to host the public hearing. The next part of the application was NMDC's response by our code enforcement officer's inquiry regarding what considers spot zoning. Again, that is in front of you as well for your review and guidance in looking over this application. The next slide that is in front of you will be 182 Chapman Road. This is a horizontal view of it. I will pull up the actual map testing as well to help in any discussions and guidance moving forward. Our next part of the application was in the public hearing. Our first comment came from Nancy Fletcher. Nancy resides near Chapman Road, and she is one of the abutters to 182 Chapman. She is writing in regards to the proposal to expand the ag farming and forestry zone on the east side of Chapman Road to include 182 Chapman. She owns several lots immediately adjacent to the area in question. The attached image below details these plots. She has also had several family members who reside immediately next to this property. This includes both elderly family and several small children who frequent this area. This, coupled with the vicinity of near a half-mile to the public walking path recreational center and the splash pad, led her to strongly oppose this proposal due to the intended use of the land under the agricultural zoning guidelines. She has also called the Presque Planning Board on April 6th. It was confirmed that the intention was to be able to grow marijuana plants on the property. One concern is that even with the proper fencing and enclosures, this would lead to an increased crime in the area by attracting thieves and neighborhood children. From her understanding, she believes the applicant would be needed to be 1,000 feet from the school zone, and an area is being revised in less than 700 feet. She is also concerned about the nuisance that it would result from the odor involved during the growing and processing of the plants. Their house in this area is very close. The houses are very close together, and they all have a right to clean, odorless air. This would result in a decrease in the value of her properties in the long term. In closing, she would strongly oppose the zoning change listed. And she would appreciate the chance for her family member to read this during public comments, and I assured her that staff would read her comments to the planning board. The next public hearing correspondence that we received was from Mr. Fletcher. It's Chuck Fletcher. And again, he is echoing a lot of what his family before echoed, with the same concern over the setbacks as well as the half-mile from the recreational path, and he also opposed it due to the agricultural zoning guidelines. The next one we have for public hearing is from Mike McNulty. And he said, to whom it may concern, he was recently made aware that his neighbor at 182 Chapman Road, and he would like his property rezoned in agricultural farming and forestry, which is in the compact urban line. He currently owns property on either side of the applicant, is 174 and 186 Chapman Road. Again, I'll show you where that's located. He's against the rezoning. His neighbor told him about the plans for the property if rezoning is granted, and he feels that it will only devalue his property if he were to be putting it up for sale, which is his plan at some point in the future. He would know after talking with others in the neighborhood that they feel the same about this property as well, and they thank you for the opportunity to comment on this issue. So that was Mike McNulty at 186 Chapman Road. The next public hearing correspondence we received was from the applicant, who received some support letters from surrounding neighbors. The first one was from Mr. Michael, who resides at 172 Chapman Road. Both of these are form letters, so I won't repeat them, but he declares that he has no objection whatsoever to the opening of a medical marijuana facility store at 182 Chapman Road. In addition, he declared that the location of the site is quite appropriate for the facility, and there are no school and other preteen children nearby. So that was from Mr. Michael. Next one is from Mr. and Mrs. Tilley, who reside at 119 Chapman Road. That is more in town. It's not directly on a butter, but it is within the vicinity. And again, they have no objection to the proposed use. The last piece of correspondence we received for public comment was from Mr. Dion, who resides at 185 Chapman Road, which is right across the street from the applicant. And again, he has no objection to this application either. With that being said, I sent all this correspondence to the applicant for a response. Jonah Gordon is the son of David Gordon, and it is his intention to be the owner later when he turns 21. And so in response to the public comments and concerns regarding the opening of a medical marijuana store facility at 182 Chapman Road, he would like to state the following. He, again, introduced himself, explained that he's 20 years old and currently employed with UPS. He's lived at 182 Chapman Road for the past 18 years. And with the events happening worldwide are showing that the world is evolving and we need to change with it. As the world tries to make way for the new coming generations, with me being part of those coming and growing up locally, I believe that a locally owned medical dispensary will be highly beneficial for our community. I routinely exercise going for runs during the summer from my house, around my neighborhood, through the trails and public walkways. I've even seen many personal grows outside and have never come across the odors from them. Concerning the crime rate going up, the Boston Globe posted in August 29, 2019, an article about a study run by the Regional Science and Urban Economics, a peer-reviewed journal in which it found that medical dispensary in neighborhoods lead to a reduction in 17 crimes per month per 10,000 residents, equivalent to about 19% decline compared to the crime rates before the opening of a medical marijuana dispensary. The same study also found that drug-related offenses fall by 2.3 crimes per month in a neighborhood of 10,000 residents. The plan for the marijuana dispensary to be located at 182 Chapman Road in Presque includes sufficient security for the property that will be using current monitoring equipment. He will also be living at 182A Chapman Road, the house located on the same property of the building being proposed to become a medical dispensary as an overseer personally. There will not be any outside cultivation. All cultivation will take place inside the building securely locked. Regarding the suspected odors, the facility will be conditioned with carbon fiber filters in the growing and processing rooms. The red rectangle on the satellite map A shows the planned area for the whole facility: cultivation, processing, retail store, and waste disposal and parking lot. In addition, the property in which the marijuana facility will be located is surrounded by trees, which will block neighbors viewing, smelling, and even hearing unusual noise. Any loud noise will be coming from the water company across the street, which uses big equipment for their work. The main entrance to the dispensary will be located on the backside of the building, hidden from passerby on Chapman Road. This is photos 2 and 3. The only thing that will signal marijuana medical dispensary will be a sign in the front lawn of the building from 186 Chapman Road, and the view is completely blocked by the house located at 182A Chapman Road, and that is photo 4. As for the minor children and preteens living near or around the property where the dispensary will be operated, there are none. My youngest sister is 14, would be the only minor past St. John Street. For possible children on St. John Street, properties with backyards have 150 feet or more of woods before them being able to see our proposed backlot parking. As for church, its property line is more than 400 feet away from the property line of 182 Chapman Road. That's map 2. Likewise, UMPI's campus grounds will be more than 1,000 feet from the planned medical marijuana dispensary, and that's map 3. On the other hand, the recreational center and the splash pad are located over a half a mile away from the planned marijuana dispensary, which you cannot see at all on map 4. In regard to the property value, an article posted by MarketWatch, a study from the real estate marketing firm Sutter, which has Trustpilot ratings of 5 stars and has been seen in the news on Forbes and NBC, USA Today, and Forbes Business News, found that home values increased nearly $23,000 more between 2014 and 2019 in cities that allow cannabis dispensary shops, compared to cities where medical and recreational marijuana was illegal. Clever's study also found that the single-family homes within 1/10 of a mile from cannabis retailers increased 8.4% in value as compared with homes located slightly further away. In Colorado, the home values in some cities that had at least one dispensary increased at nearly double the average rate nationally. In Sheridan, Colorado, a community roughly 10 miles south of Denver, home values increased over 90% between January 2014 and January 2019. I asked Caribou's local retailers if any have noticed an increase or decrease in the value of property or homes. Their answer was that in the last 5 years, there hasn't been sales of real estate properties surrounding marijuana dispensaries to support the claim, To support the claim that value will go down. Statistically, it will go up. Eventually, a similar situation took place a long time back when alcohol's retail stores began to open up. The same concerns about home devaluation were presented. However, over time, all the property values have gone up. There should not be any confusion regarding the in-town line because the proposed marijuana dispensary will be outside of the in-town line. Evidently, I don't need a firework permit based on the firework ordinance of 2017. I tried to obtain one from the Presque Fire Department to be safe and was told I don't need one. I should mention that there are other businesses adjacent to the property where the planned marijuana dispensary will be located, such as Yalbert's Automotive and Auto Body, and the water company, which is already industrially zoned, is right across the street. At the corner of the property of 182 Chapman Road is two property lines, and that's another image that he sent. In conclusion, I have some surrounding neighbors' signatures stating that they do not object to any opening of the medical marijuana facility store at 182 Chapman Road. And those were, again, just read to you before. Mr. Tilley at 119 Chapman Road is nearly a half mile down the road from Chapman Road and cannot be seen from the property line at 182 Chapman Road. I also believe that have locally owned medical marijuana dispensary will be beneficial for our neighborhood and the Presque town in general. As studies mentioned above indicated, it will be helpful to increase property value and decrease the crime rate. Last but not least, people will have time to will not have to travel long to purchase the products available at the planned dispensary. And that was submitted by Jonah Gordon. He also sent you some extra citations for your review and consideration. This is map 1, where he intends to have the facility located within the perimeter. This is map 2, and he is showing the distance away from the church to their property of 400 feet. The next one is a showing of where Umpy's perimeter line is compared to where the business will be located. And this is map 4. And again, he is showing how far the splash pad is way up here where Bicentennial Park is from where the residents are way down here. This is photo 2. Photo 3, photo 4. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go find the map for you. What I advise the individuals that decided to provide public comment, I explained that tonight's conversation is not on a medical marijuana dispensary or the license thereof. Instead, this is about the rezoning of the parcel. And so I'm advising the planning board at this time, when looking and reviewing this application, to review only the rezoning application and the merits of as it fits to our comprehensive plan, the land use code of the state of Maine. So with that being said, I will turn this back to the chair to allow for deliberations, and I'm going to again pull up the map for you if you have any other questions.
Hello? Still there?
Yep.
Okay. I got a telephone receiver as a picture. I don't know what that means, but
I'll be right back.
okay. There you go. What's the board's pleasure?
Let me see. Am I coming through all right?
Okay, say your name and
Yep.
then.
This is Brandon. Am I coming through okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I just have one question. Has Mr. Gordon explained at all whether or not he has applied or is being considered for a preliminary permit through the state?
He has indicated that he has applied for a medical and adult use retail store licenses. I also saw that they are applying for a cultivation for adult use as well. None of those have been issued to the best of my knowledge at this point.
Okay.
Now, didn't you say that, or didn't he say there was 400 feet between his place and the church? Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what's the zoning guideline on that for churches?
It should be 150 feet.
150
Yep.
feet? Okay. It's 1,000 feet from schools.
Correct. It's 1,000 feet, yep. And a school is considered defined as K through 12, not postgraduate.
This is Brandon again. I have a question regarding that. UMPI does a lot of work with high school students. Are they going to be regarded as a K to 12 institution since they do work with K to 12 students through the Upward Bound program? The summer program, there's high school kids living there for about 4 months.
Again, I'd have to look into that. We were under the impression that it is a postgraduate. It does not fit the definition of what a K through 12 school institution is.
Okay.
Galen, on the map, could you just refresh our memory where the various piners are, butters?
Sure. Pulling up right now. Do you see it all?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to
Their address, and whether they're yay or nay on the subject.
Okay. So Mr. Gordon's property is right here. The McNulty's are right here. That's the one that's McNulty.
And he was opposed, is that correct?
Opposed, yep. And here's the other one. That was opposed. The Fletchers own property right here. There's Nancy Fletcher. And then I think it's this property right here is, nope, not that one. My apologies. I'm trying to find the other gentleman who was a support. He was right across the street. That's Alan. Bear with me. So Fletcher, McNulty's, they were the ones that opposed. 172 Chapman was the next one. So this gentleman is in support. And right there is Mr. Gordon's, right there's Mr. Gordon's property. The next one was 119 Chapman, who was in support. And of course, they're not showing. 119 Chapman is way up here. There's 108. This one's I believe it's that property right there. Yeah, that's 125. So it's right up to through here. This is where 119 is. And then 185 Chapman was in support. And that was the butt property right here. So there's Mr. Gordon's property. I did have it the right parcel then. So right there is his property, and there's where the other supporter is.
Basically, the parcels next to his property are all against it. All the other ones are pretty much for it.
Correct. There's three support, 3 oppose.
Mhm.
I'm also putting on the zoning layer for you so you can see what we're looking at right here with rezoning. The green, I don't know how the shades are for you all on your computers, but the yellow is urban residential and the green over here is ag farming. And so what Mr. Gordon is asking is for his entire parcel to be changed to green to ag farming.
Now it froze.
Okay, what about spot zoning? Let's have some discussion about that, what you folks feel. Cam, you read his, paper that he sent us, really doesn't, come across thinking that this wouldn't be spot zoning. I've always had a problem with spot zoning, and it kind of feels that way to me. What's the rest of you feel?
Mr. Chairman, I agree that this, I don't think there's any other way to say it, is definitely spot zoning. It seems that the real issue is whether there are any extenuating circumstances that would permit us to decide to spot zone. That's a troubling issue for me. I don't really know how you get over that hurdle.
Anybody else on spot zoning?
Is this a continuation of, it's not a separate spot, it's just adjacent to agricultural farming, right?
If the rezoning takes place, it will connect with the current ag farming zone.
So it's not really spot zoning, it's just adding to.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again, David?
Yeah, it's just, it's not really like a spot zoning, kind of like a witness church, it's like adding on. Is that correct?
If you look at the paper that we received from NMDC, they explain what to consider spot zoning is illegal only if a single parcel or a limited area is rezoned only for the benefit of a specific property owner or special interest, and the rezoning is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan.
That's basically what's going on, it seems like.
This is Brandon again. I know that we have some clauses to protect us in the event that we wanted. If this was a true-to-life business, turnkey, ready to go, we have some protection there. My only concern right now is that this is all based on a what if. What if the permit actually goes through, the licensing actually gets approved? If it doesn't, then we're stuck with what is essentially a spot zoning without a business in the long run. And that's my only concern, is that for whatever reason, the licensing is held up, the business plan doesn't go through, and we just don't see a business out of something that we've rezoned. That's my only concern.
It seems like a little like the cart before the horse kind of thing.
Yeah.
I tend to agree. I realize it's on the fringe, but you have a lot of residences between him and the bulk of the agricultural zone, and I think it's important that we kind of stick to our guns on this spot zone. What's the board's pleasure? Are we Ready for a motion?
I would say.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question before we do a motion, I guess, or a thought question. By any stretch of the imagination, can we argue that this particular spot rezoning benefits the larger community, or is it totally for this particular individual? That's a question I was wrestling with in terms of our goals. We've been discussing marijuana dispensaries and growing and so forth, and business growth. What does the rest of the board feel? Is there any argument for arguing that that it benefits the larger community?
Galen, this is Brennan. At this point in time, how many medical marijuana dispensaries are in Presque Isle? I know we have the pending one.
The one on Main Street.
So we do have one so far that has come in and actually had a completed application. We have had another one that has expressed interest in our downtown area as well. That would be for medical marijuana, but again, I do not believe we've received an application yet. Have we, George?
Yes, we received the second application. As a matter of fact, for another dispensary.
But we're still in processing of it.
Yes, I haven't reviewed the application yet. We just got it today.
And also, we have received word of a possible cultivation facility as well. However, again, I do not have an application in front of me, so it's just right now word of mouth until something comes in on paper.
So would this be the first cultivation facility in Presque Isle, if it was approved?
So I have met with the applicant multiple times to try to consult them and help them navigate the marijuana ordinance that was recently passed. Explaining that you can only have one type of business on your property.
Okay.
So you can only do retail sale of adult use, or you can only do a retail sale of medical use, or you can just do cultivation of either one. You can't cultivate and sell on the same property in an ag zone. Our setback requirements are quite clear on that. The only place where that can occur is in a commercial subdivision, which if the rezoning took place, the applicant would not fall under that guidance. So I've advised them multiple times to read the ordinance and look over it before they get too deep in financial applications to do this. And as you saw in the application, with the applicant's response, he still intends to cultivate and sell on the same property.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the point I was getting at with that is, I guess we could have something to stand on when it came to what Ward was suggesting, if this was a business that already did not exist in Presque Isle. But at this point, we don't know if it doesn't exist because the applicant has not cemented which piece of the puzzle that they'd like to be involved in. So with that being said, I'm not sure if we could get away with saying this didn't exist until we know for a fact it does not exist in Presque Isle.
Mr. Chair, if I may speak.
Yes.
One of the things that you need to consider, if this gets changed back to an agricultural farming zone, that goes along with anything that has to do with farming, including raising livestock. So the person anybody in that zone would be allowed to raise pigs, have calves, have ducks and chickens. So in my mind, that creates a whole host where there is residents that close. That's just my opinion on that, that I think that you'd be opening up a can of worms if somebody in that area decided to start raising livestock.
One of the things you might want to remember also, this is Bruce speaking, he stated that if the marijuana thing didn't go, some type of business would be formed on that property. At one of our meetings that we had with him. That's kind of concerning. I'm really anxious about the spot zoning, but also Brandon bringing up the point, he doesn't have the licenses. Galen's saying that he can only have one facility on that property, where he's talking about trying to run three. I don't think he's ready to move forward with this because he doesn't seem to understand the rules yet.
Could I make one stop? I just had somebody message me. They let me know that there is no sound on this meeting being broadcast on YouTube. And I went to check, and there isn't any sound being broadcast. I don't know if that's something we can fix on our end.
This is our first time trying it, so it is a test run.
Yep.
We thought with the HDMI cable connecting right in, it should have transmitted sound. We'll have to play around with it because I'm not sure why it's not doing it.
A question for you, Galen, along the lines of what we're discussing. When you spoke with Mr. Gordon in the past, was any suggestion made to him that he might be premature in asking us to vote on this particular issue before he has approval and before he knows exactly what he wants to do?
Good question. The staff have advised the applicant in the past, before going through the rezoning process, that it would be beneficial for his argument in case he had state authorization to conduct what he's looking to have as a business before trying to make his case to the planning board for a rezone change. We did advise him on that.
What would happen if it were turned down at this stage, provisionally or otherwise, and later he got all his ducks in order? Would he be precluded from approaching the board for rezoning at a later date?
To the best of my knowledge, I do not believe he would be precluded from petitioning the planning board to hear another rezoning request if he has state approval.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll go ahead. Since we did not see, in my opinion, enough information, I would like to make a motion to dismiss Mr. Gordon's request to open a marijuana, no, I'm sorry. I would like to dismiss Mr. Gordon's request to pursue a rezoning at 182 Chapman Road.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Board.
I was going to second it, but I think somebody jumped in front of me.
I heard you first, Ward, so,
All right, I second Brandon's motion.
okay. Waiting here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
before a vote can take place, I would need, when the motion and second has now been made, I will need to know the justification for why we are denying the rezoning request. So just make sure that if you could speak one at a time, why you believe that this should be denied, that will help us in sending our correspondence back to the applicant.
okay, Brandon,
Can someone else go? I got to collect my thoughts and then I'll go. Call me next.
Mr. Chairman, I'll take a crack at it.
Ward.
Considering that this is, in my mind, definitely spot zoning, that's a negative. Number two, considering that Mr. Gordon doesn't isn't sure of exactly what his business plan is and does not have his approvals and so on in line. That's number 3, and that's in order. Number 3 is on both sides of Mr. Gordon, there are, it appears to be 3 or 4 properties immediately adjoining him that are opposed. Somehow, without reconciling all of those things, I don't see how we could approve his petition.
Brandon, are you ready?
Yes, yeah. Normally I would move to approve this request if there was a plan in place that met state guidelines, but it just does not seem that there is a feasible business plan going forward. I just, in good faith, I cannot vote for something that we don't know if it's going to turn into a business, and then it turns into a case of spot zoning going forward. And as Ward noted, with a 3-3 support, I'm worried there's not a majority of residents in that region in approval of this plan. And because of that, again, I just believe it's our job to speak in the will of the residents, and it's just the will isn't there.
Thank you, Brandon. Dave?
I'd have to go along with Ward and Brandon. Nothing's set in stone on this. He could change anything. That's
Okay, thank you. Travis? Is Travis with us?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. At the last meeting, if I recall, Mr. Gordon said that all his neighbors were on board. And now that I see that all his neighbors not are on board, I guess that would be my hang up on it, is not everybody's on board. And the fact that he wants to have a store, grow, and also process, that would be my second reason for saying no. And that's all I have.
Hello?
Sean, do you have any?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, pretty much everything's been said. It definitely does seem like spot zoning. All the neighbors on either side of him don't want this to happen. The majority is definitely not there, and he doesn't have a clear business plan, especially when it comes to the actual guidelines set by the city. You know, one or the other. He wants to do both, so he doesn't have his ducks in a row and doesn't seem to know what he's going to do.
Okay, thank you, Sean. My concern is a couple. We've had some from NMDC, some information sent to us that questions whether this is, you know, in my mind, this is spot zoning and really shouldn't happen. The lack of the business plan is a problem for me. He's permits, and we have this in place. We've opened a can of worms, and he's talked about it. This business doesn't go, something else would happen. I really can't support it. Any other discussion? Hello? Who's there?
We see you. We hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We have a motion on the floor. We don't have any more discussion. See the vote. We'll go starting with Ward and go through the list. David?
That's free. Opposed.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Brandon?
All right. Are we voting to oppose the
Yes.
no or the yes? I just want to make sure. I'm confused now.
Well, the motion you made was move to dismiss the rezoning to Chapman Road from residential to ag.
Okay. I moved to dismiss, so I guess that's a yes.
Yes, it would be a yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I probably should have read it. Everybody understand it now?
You wanna run through us again and we'll say it the right way?
Yeah, let's do that. Ward?
Okay, I guess I have to vote yes that we are denying the motion.
Yes. That's correct. The application, denying the application. Okay, Dave?
Deny the application. Yeah, I'm here.
Brandon?
Deny the application.
We got you. Thank you, Dave.
Yes. Denied.
Okay.
Okay,
You're
Travis?
Yeah.
I didn't quite hear that, Travis.
Yes, deny the application.
Sean?
Yes, deny the application.
Chairman votes yes to deny the application. The application is denied. Or dismissed. What else have you got for us?
Thank you, gentlemen. That is all I have tonight. George, do you have anything?
No, not at this time.
That's it. So, again, this is our first Zoom meeting together 100%. I'm hoping that we can meet back next month, but, we'll just play it by ear. And, if we're still in the same boat, we'll just get prepared to use this in the future. So we'll work on the sound, though, for future meetings. We'll test around with the IT department to see what's going on. But if you have any feedback regarding your experience today, let me know. I'll gladly write down how we can improve it.
Galen, do you want to put in a plug for your meeting next week on downtown revitalization?
Sure. We actually have a downtown revitalization committee meeting next Tuesday, which you're all invited to attend, and you should have your Zoom meeting for that. And we'll be discussing the downtown revitalization. So look forward to seeing you all on Tuesday.
That's the 21st.
Yep.
Very good. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Is that
Second.
Ward?
That's Ward.
Seconded by
Sean?
Sean. Thank you, Sean. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Good. See you probably Tuesday. Thank you.
Stay safe, guys. Take care.
Stay safe.